EQP, your specialized consulting.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am Aggie da Silva, the sales director for EQP North America. Like we do every month, we have a special guest for our live. Today, our live podcast is going to be talking to an individual that has quite a large experience in the mining industry. And of course, after we start this interview, he's going to be talking about himself a little bit, so you guys will know exactly who is Adriano Espeschit. Adriano Espeschit has more than 35 years of experience in the mining industry. And today he is the president of Potássio do Brasil, a very, very important project in the Amazon that is going to be a change in Brazil as far as we're talking about a potash product and the use of that product in the fertilizers for Brazil and for the world. So right now, before we start this interview, or before we start this conversation with Adriano, we're going to have a video, a very short video, less than 5 minutes, that is going to be talking exactly about what is this project about. And after that, we'll receive Adriano here so we can have this conversation and this interview. And he's going to tell us a lot about this particular inventure in the Amazon. It's something very, very interesting, and you're not going to miss that for nothing. Right now, this is the opportunity for us to see the video, and then we're going to have Adriano followed by that, okay? Or Thiago, can we go on that video, please? Thank you so much.
Focused on food security for Brazil and the world, Potássio do Brasil presents the Autazes Potash Project, which will produce potassium chloride fertilizer essential to meet the fertilizer requirements of Brazilian agribusiness to produce food for the world. The Autazes Potash Project is being developed in the Autazes County, traditionally known as an agricultural producing region, and located about 120 kilometers from Manaus, in the Amazonas region of Brazil. Potássio do Brasil developed its mineral exploration campaign exclusively in pasture areas in this region. For the mineral exploration phase, approximately $230 million have been invested. The money has been used to fund drilling campaigns, seismic surveys, environmental studies, engineering studies, and property acquisitions. These studies have identified and defined a mineable mineral reserve of more than 170 million tons of potassium chloride, constituted by underground potash layer with dimensions of approximately 13 kilometers in length, 10 kilometers in width, and with an average mineable thickness of 2.5 meters, located at a depth of about 800 meters. The main objective of Potássio do Brasil in Autazes is to create a fully sustainable mining project, which is committed to the local community. Large investments in socio-environmental programs and the most advanced production technologies are planned to achieve these goals of bringing sustainable engineering methods of mining to the Amazon region. The Autazes Potash Project is currently in the environmental licensing phase and will consider the following items to reach the full potash production capacity. The construction of 2 shafts to access the underground mine. A river port to support all logistics, which will be constructed on the left bank of the Madeira River, close to the Urucurituba village. An underground mine that will operate using long pillar methodology. A mineral processing plant, which will have a processing capacity of around 8.5 million tons runoff mining per year and produce 2.2 million tons of potash per year. The processing plant will use proven technology consisting of the following operations: ore receiving, crushing, hot leaching, crystallization, drying, and compaction of potash. The processing plant will be built in areas traditionally occupied by pasture land used for raising cattle in the region. As a result, there will be no need to suppress native vegetation to the tropical rainforest. Several environmental studies have been carried out by specialized consultants to confirm this. The existing access road, which will be revitalized and paved, will allow trucks to transport granulated potash from the processing plant to the port in Urucurituba village on the bank of the Madeira River. The project will also include the construction of approximately 160 kilometers of transmission power line, which will benefit more than 100,000 people residing in municipalities located on the right bank of the Amazon River. The project's premise is to mitigate any negative impact as possible and focuses on enhancing the positive impacts of the project, promoting improvements for the following sectors: education, health, security, sanitation, housing, among other benefits for the communities from the surroundings of the project. Autazes Potash Project, the most efficient and impactful solution for Brazilian agribusiness.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, first of all, before I call my guest, and I introduce my guest personally, he's going to be here with us in a few minutes. I would like to tell how great it is the pleasure for me to talk to him. I've got a lot of reasons behind it. Number one, I was born in the Amazon. Even though I'm here in the United States for more than 26 years now, I was born in the Amazon. And I do understand from my research, from a lot of things that I've read about it, and now this video just confirms the importance of this project, not only for the Amazon, but the importance of this project for Brazil. So right now, I'm going to invite in our guest, Adriano Espeschit. Please join us. Adriano, how are you?
I'm very well. And you, Aggie?
I'm doing great. First of all, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. I'm very, very happy that you did accept it because, as I told you before, I also had a private feeling, a personal feeling about having this conversation with you because as I was born in the Amazon, you know, this project was for me something of great interest. And I grew up in the Amazon. I was born in the Amazon. So when I heard about that project, I said to myself, wow, that's an incredible venture. And you were the name that was introduced or mentioned to me about the person who would be running this project. Well, Adriano is the president of Potássio do Brasil, for our audience to know. So, Adriano, let's just start talking about you first. Tell our audience, who is Adriano? Who is this guy?
Okay. I'm a young guy that was born in Minas Gerais state in 1965. Wow, 59 years ago. And I graduated in mining engineering in 87. I started my career in an underground potash mine in Sergipe state. And then I moved to bauxite in Pará state. Then to iron ore, both in Minas Gerais state and in Pará, copper and nickel in Pará state. I moved to Canada and I worked with oil sands in Alberta. Then after 2 winters, I moved to Australia
to be right?
to general manager of Nickel West Mount Keith nickel operation with BHP Billiton. And I was invited to come back to Brazil to implement another project here in Bahia state. Since 2010, I started my own company in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais. And 3 years ago, I received this invitation to be the president of Potássio do Brasil to implement this fantastic project here in Amazonas.
That's incredible. Very good. And I know how challenging this is going to be for you, Adriano. I know how challenging that is. It's going to be another incredible experience for you. I am absolutely sure about that. Adriano,
Yes.
we have a lot of questions that we have structured for you, but we also have some questions from our audience that they have anticipated us. So let's just start by dividing those questions. Basically, we talk about economic questions. We're going to be talking about social and environmental questions. We're going to be talking about operational and technical questions, which is very, very important as well. And of course, the technical questions and operational questions are questions that also relate to the terms of the future planning of this project. Now, the first question for you is, the global potash market is constantly evolving. How is Potássio do Brasil positioning itself to compete with major international players, Adriano?
Yeah, first of all, the market is a very important one because it's a question of food security, not only for Brazil, not only for Amazonas state, but for the world. It's very important because the agrobusiness depend on the fertilizers. The N for nitrogen, the P for phosphate, and the K for potash. And Brazil, it's a huge producer of agrobusiness, but we depend on importation for almost all the fertilizers. Mainly important in terms of the potash, we imported 98% of what we need. And basically, we have three big basins in the world: Canada, Russia, and Belarus, and Brazil. We need to develop this basin here because it can be the second or the third biggest one in the world. That's how important is this project. We started a production in domestically Brazil, and it's important because we will reduce the importation and a lot of benefits with a greenest potash, and we will explore this later during your questions.
Wow. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, what are the production projections? I know you talked some percentage, and you mentioned some percentage now. What will be the direct impact of that operation, number one, in the Brazilian economy? That's one question. And particularly in the agriculture sector. Now we're talking about Brazil, specifically, its economy in the agriculture sector.
Rounding the numbers, Brazil imports around 13 million tons of potash a year, and we will produce 2.2 million tons per year. That is around 17%, and round up to 20%, reducing from 98% to 80%, 98 to 80% dependence. That is the important thing. We will have in the next door a supply of potash from the biggest producer of agrobusiness in Brazil, that is the Mato Grosso state. Then instead of transport 20,000 kilometers far, we will have around 1 to 3 days to deliver it there at a farm in Mato Grosso.
Wow, it's incredible. Now, how has Potássio do Brasil attracted both national and foreign investments, and how does this impact the project's viability and expansion, Adriano?
Yeah, this project is the project that is in a roadshow attracting a lot of potential investors. Okay, we announced in the end of August the entrance in the IPO in the New York Stock Exchange. Wow, and we are in a process of this. We cannot give details now because of the situation that we are, but we have around 85% international investors nowadays and 15% national investors in our distribution.
Wow. Now, what proportion of the production will be allocated to what we call the domestic market compared to exports? And how could this impact fertilizer price in Brazil?
We will focus this first project 100% in the Brazilian domestic market. And the price is, of course, as a commodity, it's internationally controlled. Of course, we will have more benefits in terms of we will sell in reais, in Brazilian reais here, instead of nowadays that the farmer has to buy something and have the impact or the potential impact of the exchange rates. And of course, the delivery time is another impact for him that today when he buys a potash from Canada, for example, he will receive only 105 days later. That is also a working capital that he has to have.
Okay, very interesting. Let's talk about a little bit. I have Mike Stash from Australia asking a question, or he asked a question particularly related to the environmental part. It says the potash mining project, of course, that must have faced a lot of environmental challenge during the license process, because it took a while for you, right, to get that licensing and say, you know, everything is okay, you're ready to go. So the question basically here is how has Potássio do Brasil managed these issues, and what guarantees of environmental sustainability does the project offer?
Okay, first of all, the project is a very, very low impact. As you could see in the video, we are installed our surface installations in a place that is not a forest. You said that we are implemented a project in Amazon, and in general, people think that is in the tropical jungle. It's not. It's in an old farm area where they grow and they created cattle. It's Autazes is known, as you know, as a milk provider for the state. It's the biggest one in the state. Then it was a lot of farms here, and we put the plant exactly where there is no need for deforestation. Then zero impact in the surface. And our operations will be underground, 800 meters deep. Then no impact on the surface. Then this is the greenest and the sustainable operation that you can do. The road that we will transport our product from the mine and the plant to the port, it's only 12 kilometers far. Just to let you know, in Canada, the potash has to leave Saskatchewan and go by train 2,500 kilometers by road, by the railway, up to the Vancouver port. And by the way, just to introduce this point, burning diesel.
Wow, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That's incredible. Now, talking about the social impact, in terms of job creation, because you have a community, the local community, of course, you know, you have some people there. I know Autazes must not be a high population type of city, but you have some local communities. In terms of job creation and impact on those local communities, how is the company is going to ensure that those benefits are distributed, you know, fairly, let's say, if that's the word that would fit in there?
Okay, the company has a commitment with the community that we will generate 1,300 job positions directly and around 15,000 indirectly, but not all of them here in the Autazes area. But for the direct employees, we will guarantee 80% of local people working for us. We will have the preparation of people during the implementation of the project, the construction of the site, and then we will prepare people to work for us during the 23 years of operational lifetime. That is the biggest benefit that we will bring in terms of economic for the town, and the region in general. As you know, all the transportation will be done by barges, and of course, there is other places that we will also benefit in terms of economic.
Okay, and what about sustainability in a long-term plan? I know that it's not going to impact the environment very much, but you know, But what sort of project, let's say, is underway to keep that sustainability of any ecological impact that might occur in the future? I mean, is there any concern or any project or anything being done or related to that?
We have more than 30 programs in terms of social, economic, and environmental issues that we already had committed. All those plans address some points. Just as an example, we will committed to have 10 times more area that we will occupy in the surface to recover. When I mean recover, it's not only to reinforce the area, but is to create an activity for the community. Okay, and then, for example, if they wanted to have trees of cupuaçu, as you know, this is a fruit, a regional fruit that you can create different things, juice, dulces, other things, no? And these generate economic point for the community, no? And then we will perpetuate for lifetime. We will stay in the region for 23 plus years. But after that, unfortunately, the potash will be gone. And then we will have to go after other projects, no?
Of course.
And then we can create situations on this town that can maintain the activities there.
I love that you just mentioned the cupuaçu. That's one of my favorite fruits. So thanks for reminding me about that. It's delicious. Now, what about the Indian community? When we talking about the indigenous community, I don't know. Do you have any indigenous communities around, and how is that being taken care of? Are there any potential conflicts, or are you ensuring that the rights of local communities and indigenous communities are respected?
The actual Autazes Potash Project is completely outside of indigenous land, okay? 100% outside of indigenous land. We are close by some areas that has indigenous population. What we did since 2017, we decided voluntarily to do a consultation based in the IOL 169 from the UN about this. And we received 90%, more than 90% approval from the indigenous population. And I'm talking here not about only the 2 or 4 areas around the place, but all the 34 tribes from Autazes municipality, represented around 12,000 indigenous. And then it means that more than 90% approve the project to be installed in Autazes area.
All right. Now, there is somebody here from the mining industry asking an interesting question about the technology and innovation. His question is, what kind of technology will be used in the extraction to ensure efficiency and minimize environmental impacts?
Well, starting for the mining is 800 meters deep, room and pillars, a traditional methodology that is used all around the world. Several mines use this methodology and no impact in several different countries, such as Canada, Russia, and Belarus. At the plant, we will use hot leaching. Hot leaching, as the name says, it's only hot water. Then there is no chemical. There is no potential for contamination by chemical products. It's only hot water that separates the potash from the table salt.
Okay.
That is the kind of product that we have in the ground. Then it's 2 different kind of salts. No potential for any kind of contamination. And then we will keep this as not a kind of innovation in terms of reinvented the wheel. We will use proven technologies all around the world.
Okay. Now, is this technology something that you find it here or you find it locally, or you have to import that from outside?
Basically, we have only one potash mine in Brazil. That is that one that I mentioned in Sergipe State.
Okay.
Then we have not a extension kind of examples in Brazil, but
Okay.
in several places all around the world.
Okay. Now, let's talk about logistics a little bit. Of course, there has got to be some transportation of the potash, and I know that it's a crucial aspect of your operation there, we imagine. So, what are the main logistical challenges that you will be facing, Adriano, with this exploration of the potash, and how you are addressing them?
Okay, and the logistics is fantastic. Let's start from the farm. The farms in Mato Grosso state produce for example, the soybeans, and then they put the soybeans in trucks. The trucks go up to the north, up to two different ports, and then they put the soybeans in barges. The barges go to the system, the river system that we have in Amazons, up to the Amazon River, and then they are transshipped to the big vessels that go out of Brazil in terms of exporting the soybeans. Okay. What happened with the barges? They return empty, not anymore after the Potássio do Brasil. They will carry our products. And the same thing with the trucks. They will return to the farms not anymore empty. They will return with the potash. Imagine the benefit of these people.
Wow.
Instead of having to transport in 2,500 kilometers by railway, plus 20,000 kilometers by vessel up to Brazil, plus the truck inside of Brazil.
Wow.
That means, Aggie, 200,000 tons of carbon less in the atmosphere.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. That's a total new point for me in this. I hadn't any idea of that. I mean, that's something totally new. I have to confess that I didn't know about that. What about the when we talking about the logistics? Now we're going to talk a little bit about the operational safety, because of course in an operation like that, there are a lot of safety issues involved. Mining, as you know very well, better than I do, involves high risks. You know, what sort of safety measure you have implemented to protect its workers and the environment during this exploration?
That is a very interesting question, because Brazil has one of the best standards in terms of safety in mining industry. We have good standards in the worker force here in Brazil, and of course the labor unions has a lot of pressure on this, and they create very good reviews. We will use the best practice in the world, and we will bring this to Amazonas.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, now let's talk about the future of the sector. You said that the mine will be, this will take about 23 plus years to explore this whole underground potash that is there at the Autazes city. Now, when you're talking about a long-term planning, I'm sorry, what are the plans? Is there any plan for the project expansion over the next 5 to 10 years? Or the second part of the question would be, how does the company intend to explore other sites or develop new extraction technologies? Will that happen or take place, or not exactly? After 23 years, you're just over, you shut down everything and you leave? How will that work in terms of a long-term planning?
Yeah, we need to develop the other targets that we have. In fact, we have 3 other targets in our pipeline that need more investments in terms of research, drills. Each drill that we need to do, it's a 1 kilometer deep to take a sample of 2.5 meters. No, then this is a lot of expense. That's why we had already expended around 250 million US dollars in the project. Okay, we drilled 63 drills in the region. In Autazes around 43, and in other targets the other 20. This is important because a company in general developed one target but has the others for later. It's exactly the strategy of Potássio do Brasil. We can double our production, we can triple our production with the development of those other projects.
Now, another question for you at this point is let's talk again about, because this is a project in Brazil, of course, and it has a certain, let's say, a certain level of importance to the country and to a lot of people involved, or environmental, et cetera, et cetera. But let's talk about the dependency. Currently, Brazil imports. I understand that currently Brazil imports a large portion of the potash used in its fertilizers. And you mentioned something in the very beginning of this conversation, but now I would like you to go deeper on it. How will that change the moment potash production is as its peak, and to reduce the country's reliance on imports?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I will repeat some numbers. Nowadays, we imported 98%. With our first phase, we will reduce this to 80. Then that means in round numbers that we will be responsible for around 20% of the Brazilian needs with this first project. And how important is this? The participation of this project in several national programs from the federal government, for example. We are in the PPI, that is a program for projects and investments in Brazil, directly with the president, is in the staff of the president, this project. We are in the CONFERT, that is the acronym of, in free translation, Fertilizer Council, National Council, that is running by the Vice President Alckmin in Brazil. We are there. We are in the Fertilizer National Plan, and we are in the Strategic Minerals at the Energy and Mines Ministry. Then it's something that is cannot be more strong in terms of support from the federal government. For the state government, your state, the governor has said that the potash is one of its pillar in this running. And he made a fantastic job with the environmental analysis of this project in the state environmental agency, doing a fantastic kind of benchmarking, use several contributions for other countries or other states, sorry, including the Sergipe state. And of course, the municipality has a strong support, because we will generate several jobs there, and the economic of the municipality will change a lot.
Very good. Adriano, let's make the second part of this conversation more about you as a leader. Because I see that you bring with yourself a lot of luggage. You have an incredible background. But I want to get into that specific. But before I get into that specific, I would like to exchange something with you. Is there anything or any of the subsidies? Because you know that Manaus is a free zone, right? The situation of Manaus being a free zone, are you benefiting from one of those subsidies of the government related to that fact, or has nothing to do with it?
Yeah, the structure of the benefits in Brazil changed a lot, and we are talking with the government now to see what we can receive in terms of benefit, but not related of this free zone. Okay, it's more related with the the tax that we have between states, because this is one situation that can impact. And in Brazil, we have some changes in the law that we can beneficiate on this. But our base case is standard.
Okay. Now let's talk. As I mentioned to you, now I want to get deeper into you as a leader. Tell me about this challenge for you when you compare to your previous challenges in your past life, professionally speaking. How would you measure and evaluate this kind of challenge you have ahead of you now with the Potássio do Brasil?
Wow, it's fantastic because the benefit that we can bring for people, and I'm telling you here, the difference between the past life of this one, it's most related with the indigenous. I had an experience with Fort McKay First Nation in Canada, but it was a small kind of a tribe. The Fort McKay in my time in Canada was around 500 people. Now I'm talking about 12,000 people that you can help them to have a better life quality, and they can achieve things that they never think about. No, and when I'm talking about entrepreneur, not only give them a job, not only give them a kind of a payment for be around them, but to create a grow in their lifestyle. No,
Okay.
that is the impact on people. That is the most important thing for me.
And now, what stage are you right now as far as this project is concerned? What is the stage we are right now? What is the position? We passed the license phase. We are starting it. What's the stage?
We are ready for construction. Then we are preparing the package. We are organizing this now. Some of the packages are outside for quotation, and some of them are in preparation with my team. Okay, and then I'm talking about the first ones that we need to start with: the archaeological services, the collection of the wildlife, for the vegetation suppression. When I mean vegetation suppression, is not deforestation, is just to clean the area where the cattle were growing at the past, and of course the earth movement. I'm talking about these four as a begin, and then this is the main important part that we are working now.
All right. And another question that is still related to this subject. What is your message to your team right now? Have you put all the team together? You have all the management team. What is your message to your team today when you talk to them and you address them? What is your message? What do you think is your main message and focus when you talk to them about this incredible project? I would love to hear that.
We can.
I know you copied that from somebody.
But basically, we can change people's life, and we can do the right thing, and we can do this in as the Governor Wilson. Governor Wilson is, for your audience, as you know, it's the governor of Amazonas said, we can produce the greenest potash in the world here in Amazon.
All right. Now, I know you don't get overwhelmed when there is a project or a challenge like that in front of you, because you have been in so many, as you have a history to tell and you have a lot of challenges. I know you're not overwhelmed with that, but if you would compare, what is the difference between this challenge and all the others you had in the past? That's something that I would love to hear.
Wow, each one has his particularity, no? For example, if I mention one project in Pará State, 20 years ago, the difference was completely, it's uncomparable. There is a question not only having communication with the external area, for example. Nowadays, you have an antenna that can connect you with the world easily, no? But then it's a different kind of challenges. I can tell you, if you do a comparison in terms of one another, they are very similar. When I arrived in a place where we implemented a copper project, for example, I arrived in Natal with 2,000 people there. Autazes has 40,000 people. Then it's a completely different kind of thing, no? But wow, the challenge here is the logistic and the transportation. As you know, to arrive in the project, I have to take a boat here in Manaus, 150 kilometers by road, another boat to arrive in Autazes town, another car to arrive in the Madeira River, and another boat to arrive in the port area. That is.
And how many trips you've done like that so far?
I have miles. Oh, I am a diamond in terms of mileage.
Well, unfortunately, the boats are not giving miles yet, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something. Let's talk about supply chain. You have, of course, providers. You're going to need a lot of providers to provide you with material or raw material, whatever kind of material you need, even food for the people who work in the place there. What is your challenge with that supply chain, with those providers? How the challenge of doing that in the middle of the forest there, or not exactly the forest, but you're out there in Autazes. It's far from the city. You have all this logistic that you just mentioned. Tell us about that. How is the supply chain going to work for you?
Well, it's easy because this is well done by the Amazon people here, no? And then it's just use them, not to try to reinvent the wheel, as I mentioned about innovation. They know how to do it, and they do it in a very, very, very good standard.
You're right.
Yeah, you know better than me.
You're right. Probably. And remember that the Carnival is not as good as the Boi Bumbá there in Parintins, made by the Amazon people, right?
Yeah, and by the way, we have very strong support from the Manaus area here. We will use these, no? Because we have a lot of support from the industry here. We have a very good industry park in Manaus, and then we can use the benefit of this situation, no?
All right. I'm going to ask you now a very personal question, but it's professionally related, of course. What do you think is your major quality as a leader to make this project successful?
I'm a hard worker.
Okay. And how do you lead the people? How do you inspire them for that? What is your technique? What do you do? How do you use your experience, your history? What is exactly that you do? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, we are a team worker. No, we work as a team. The results that we achieve up to now, it's our result. It's not my thing. It's each one has his contribution. No.
Okay, you know about that African saying or parable that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, you have to go together, right?
Yes, it's something like that. No,
it does apply, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, now, is that your first experience in working at the Amazon? Is this the first time you work at the Amazon, or no?
No, I said I had two passages from working in Amazon area, but in Pará state.
Pará, yes. Yes. I was talking about the Amazon, not the Amazonia. Amazonia is big, right?
Yeah, it's another thing. People make a confusion between Amazon region and state of Amazonas.
State of Amazon. And this is the state of Amazon, right?
Yes, it's my first experience in the Amazonas state.
That's what I wanted to know. That's exactly what I wanted to know. And how has been that experience so far for you?
So far, so good.
What do you like most about the Amazon? Besides the
fish.
food, of course.
The food is fantastic.
The food is fantastic, isn't it? Especially the tambaqui, huh?
Yes. And of course, the people here, it's a kind of a lot of different ethnies here, mixed in Manaus, for example, because of the industry park here. You have Indians, you have Japanese, you have Chinese, we have Germans, we have everyone here, no? It's fantastic.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
If you look for the colonization time, the Portuguese were here.
Exactly. The rubber era, we call, right? That's when they went to the opera house.
Yeah.
Now, when you're hiring people to be part of your team, are you bringing them from outside, or you finding people in the Amazon that you can use that kind of a talent or background that can be helpful for you?
We have to separate this in two parts. For the construction phase, we will not having any kind of control. We will bring people from outside if necessary. We will work with the maximum that we can from here. But as I said, we have a commitment for the operational part. The 23 years of mining life, I will use 80% of local people.
That's a good commitment. That's very, very interesting. 80% of the people.
Yes,
that's good. So you're providing job for these people, and that's very incredible for the region.
Not only job, we will provide capacitation. We will provide training,
capacitation.
Yes, everything that they need, because we have the time of the construction to do it.
Yeah.
And we have done this in the past. That's why we know that is achievable.
That's very, very good. Incredible. Now, one more thing. Your experience now is being, accumulated for you to give yourself to this project and make it successful. How would you describe success at the end of this process? Would you describe success? And you could tell us exactly it was a success. How would you describe it?
Potash at the farm.
Okay. That's good. So potash on the farms, that's the way for you to say it was successful, right?
Of course.
Because I like
2 million there.
Exactly. I like when we were talking, making our preview of what this conversation would follow, how this conversation would flow. And I remember when you changed the name of this conversation, you mentioned something about food and not potash itself. How was that? Would you repeat that to our audience so they know exactly why you mentioned that way and you suggested that name for the call?
Yeah, this is not a project that we are talking about mining. Mining is only the tool that we will use to guarantee food security. In food security. We are talking not only about Amazonas, not only about Brazil, it's the world. If you look the statistics, you can see 75% of the orange juice in the world is produced here in Brazil. 50% of the soybean here, 50% almost of the corn is here now, 33% of the coffee in the world is from Brazil. We are nowadays probably around 10%, or some people say more, a little bit more, almost 20%, but let's put between 10 and 20% of the population of the world depend on Brazil food production. That is the importance of Brazil. It's not because of Brazil, it's a kind of a different situation, but is the way that the climate is in Brazil, the soil, but we depend on the fertilizers. That's why it's important to develop the fertilizers industry also in Brazil, no?
All right. Very good. Adriano, we are almost there, but
Yeah.
before we close this conversation, I would like to know uh, what message would you give not only to the Brazilian people, that some of the people that of course speak English, they might be watching our live today, but to the people, the English spoken countries are also part of this audience. We have people from South Africa, Australia, England, Canada, United States. What is, I mean, the importance of this project we have talked about, no doubt about it. Now we understand a lot better what it really means and what was this, the whole project, the whole thought process behind that. What message would you send to our audience when we're talking about this specific project, this specific experience that you have to live right now? What would be your message for us to close this conversation today, Adriano? You got plenty of time, so no rush. We've still
Yeah.
got 9 minutes to go. So, what is your message to everybody who's listening to us right now?
I think it's the most important thing is we are building a project that is sustainable. I mentioned some numbers, but I will emphasize one point that we didn't explore. Just because Brazil has 84% of his power, electricity in renewable uh, matrix, we will have 1.2 million tons of carbon in the atmosphere less than if you compare with Canada production or Russia production.
That's
Of course, the Canada is dependent on the gas and the Russian in the coal.
Mm-hmm.
Then we
Right.
are greenest because of this, no?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we are developing a poor area of Brazil. They don't have alternatives of doing different things. We are bringing them a portfolio of alternatives to develop. Uh, it's incredible how big can be the alternatives for each one of them. Of course, if they wanted to keep their lifestyle, we don't do any interference because our impact on surface, as I mentioned to you, is very low. It's less than 500 hectares in the surface, no? That
Mm-hmm.
is minimal.
Mm-hmm.
You saw in the video that we saw that the projection of the plant is very small in terms of this. The opportunities for young people to not have to leave the town, to have job opportunities. And I'm talking not only to work for the company, but to have their own companies providing services to us. I can use several different examples. We will build a power line as showed in the video that will beneficiate around 200,000 people that nowadays burn diesel to have their own electricity. As you
Uh-huh.
know, some towns in Amazonas state and also in Pará state and in other states from the Amazon region has to have their own generators to have their own
Exactly. It's true.
electricity.
Yeah.
And we will bring the electricity from the national grid. How important is this? How
Mm.
important is the life change that we will bring? That is the message that I can tell your audience that this is the kind of project that in my life it's the most sustainable project that I have seen.
Wow. You sold me already. I'm going to be investing in this project. So I'm investing in this project. So I'm already sold here. So thank you very much for the hints. Thank you very much for the clues. Ladies and gentlemen, I just received here as a guest this incredible individual called Adriano Espeschit, who has a history, professional history that is absolutely amazing. And he's got a big challenge ahead of him, which is he's already explained. He's already giving us some clues about how the challenge is going to take place. And he gave us a lot of clues also about the concerns with the environment, the concerns with the people, the sustainability factors, which is one of the major concerns that some of the people and some of our audience has asked questions about. So, Adriano, thank you so much for your time today and for investing your time explaining to our audience what is this project all about. I mean, I see the importance of it. Of course you do, because you are the man. You are the man of the hour there. So I see the importance. I see that the Amazon people right now understands the importance of that. Serafim Correia, who was my friend in Manaus that mentioned your name and said, you got to talk to Adriano. He was the one who mentioned about this project. And when he sent it to me and I said, hey, Serafim, this is an incredible project. I mean, I was touched. I was really touched. And I had put myself a goal that I said, I am going to have to interview Adriano Espeschit in one of my lives, because I think this is a very, very important project for the Amazon, for the country. And I think I found that quite an interesting conversation, and to learn a lot from you, what is the importance of this project also to benefit people around, to benefit the providers, to benefit the 80% of employees, I'm sorry, not employers, but employees or, professionals that we work with your team. And I can see, based on your experience, that you are a great leader and that this project will be successful. And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Okay, I wish you the best. And thank you very much for your time, Adriano. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Okay, Adriano. Bye-bye.
Bye.
EQP, your specialized consulting.